it takes a little bit of fortitude to do that and not rest on your laurels. Because look, I constantly tell people, if you're resting, you're dying.
Yeah.
You might as well be in purgatory, just waiting to die.
Welcome to Clicks and Bricks Podcast. We talk about the entrepreneur mindset.
If you get one shot at this, what kind of shot are you going to take?
If we forget who we are, they're going to forget who you are.
And you've got an adversity story that's out of this world.
Everything from that Main Street brick and mortar to that billion-dollar manufacturer.
What podcasting does for me, truth up, it gets me out of their hair. It gives me some significance in life. I was, I stepped back from being the president of CDO Group, which was my thing for 25 years. I mean,
Right.
That was me. It's in my basement. Everything about it was significant, and I was proud, and my thing and my ego. But I became the bottleneck. And as this team of people really grew, and my wife took over as president, it literally, the podcast. I had a business coach came in, and she was like, let's talk, right? So she sat me down one day. She goes, "I need you to lock your door." What? She goes, "Yeah, I need you to lock your door to your office." Okay, great. Every day I'll lock the door. She goes, no. I need you to walk in the morning. I need you to lock it when you get there in the morning, and I need you to stay on the other side of the door. What? She goes, yeah. Every day you walk out and you jump in everybody's business all day long, and you take all the air out of the room. And you're great. I mean, you're amazing, but they'll never be great if you keep doing that. And that was a couple of years ago, and it was the toughest thing I've ever done as a human being. I literally had to sit on the other side of my door and, not go out there and jump in everybody's business. I love construction. I love it. I've been in my whole life. I love doing it. I'm great at it. I love running projects. I can see the problems as they come. I can, as soon as I meet a brand, I know exactly what needs to happen. I know how to roll them out and how to do them. But as long as I kept doing that, they couldn't do that. And, it was kind of fun. That was the best lesson I've ever learned, was to lock my door and stay on the other side of it. And I'd interact with my leaders once a week for an hour.
Right.
I still do that. I still do that today. I still meet with each department head once a week for an hour. I get that time with them, undivided. It's great. We do that, and every month we have a leadership meeting where we get together for an afternoon, and it's kind of a fun spot to be in. It really is the transition from me being the sole plate spinner to sitting back and having, really encouraging them and developing them and watching them, really create it. Right. So I found a way now to allow them to do that. And it's free. Right. And that's where this podcast. So right. The next she comes in, she goes, "Well, what's going on?" So I go, "I'm back here. I'm kind of feeling a little bit, this is my baby. Now what do I do?" She goes, "Well, what do you want to do?" We're like, "What do you mean? Like, what do you really, what are things in your life you never got to do?" "Well, I want to learn to fly planes. I always want to learn to fly planes." So I got my solo a couple of weeks ago. That was kind of fun.
Right.
Flying planes. I'm getting ready to buy a plane. I can fly around the world. I've been working on a TV show that I take my family around the world doing all these kind of adventures. It's been a lot of fun. And the podcast, the podcast was one. And, I love learning about the business. I love our business. I love talking about it. I love getting people excited about it. And so I got in this podcast thing, and all of a sudden, boom, it's fun. I get to talk with all the new development stuff, AI and machine learning and robots and new techniques for doing things. And
right.
It's been fun. It's been like a real passion.
So your podcast today helps people in the commercial construction business, gives them tips, tricks, new tech, stuff like that. Is that what your podcast is about today? Okay.
Yep, exactly. It's
awesome.
About the future of development, kind of where the world is going. The best part about construction is it's been an archaic development, right? I mean, for most of my career, my line has always been, but most of my career, we built like they built a Coliseum.
Right.
Right. I mean, it has not changed much in 2,000 years. And we have really worked, now since BIM modeling, since has really been created, point cloud development. Now, the computer can now see the field digital world
Very
can now
beautifully,
be
right? Matterport,
Yeah.
Matterport's knocked it out of the park for these 3D scans and converting that into a BIM file. Very affordable, right? Like,
now here, that is a great here. This is a tough one for people to get. Matterport, we use them every day. Love it.
yep,
It is just the beginning of what needs to happen for us to go to metaverse and the digital twinning of the world.
yes.
The component of that, really, if you look at that, that's a pretty picture, right? And you can see a little bit clearer and you get around things a little bit better. And it really is just a dressed up picture. The future of development really is in Revit and Revit type softwares where every component that's in the design is known. So when you look at a wall, you can look at the bottom track, the studs, the top track, the screws that hold it together, the drywall that goes on it, the mud that goes on top of that, the paint layers. You can see the layers, and as you design it, you now will be able to go out and find. I mean, as it's being designed, you're going to the field understanding where availability is, right? Timing, scheduling, all of that stuff will happen. The future of construction will be no more general contractors. We're going to place ourselves out of the business. It really will become very similar to what Uber is, right?
Yes.
Today, AI will develop plans, drawings, scopes of works, and it really will take us into a place where AI will develop. So we're really playing a lot. It's giving me the ability to really look at where we strategically need to grow as a company, and that's been a lot more fun than I ever imagined. Being able to stop your day-to-day work and go think, right? And I once worked for a guy named Tom Walters, and I walked in his office, and he was reading the paper like on a Tuesday. And I had just flown in. I had just traveled 7 days in a row to different cities,
Right.
and I had flown in that morning. I was going to be in the office during the day and fly out that afternoon to go to another city for the next day. And I walked in his office, and he's reading the Wall Street Journal. I'm like, "What are you doing?" I mean, we're building this company. We're growing this, this restaurant brand. He's like, "Anthony, you got to learn. You got to stop and think." Right? You're running. You're chasing your tail. Every once in a while, to be a great leader, you need to think.
Yes.
Right? You need to solve problem. You need to solve problems that where a solution didn't exist before. But first, you got to see your problems, and you can't do that when you're running 100 miles an hour, putting fires out all day.
Absolutely. We interviewed just the other day, Mr. Go. What's his name of the company? Baru. Company. It's a brand new startup, Baru, and he's got AI technology to where you pick your piece of furniture, you scan it, you resize it, put it into the room, and that sends it to a CNC cutter, right? And then cuts your cabinets to size where you size them in AI, and it automatically sends that right to the CNC cutter. And I can see how that's going to go into construction. I mean, with what Boxable's doing, with what he's doing with AI and all this other stuff, I can definitely see, just like at McDonald's pushing the button, I want this house built, and 48 hours later, the CNC machine drops and the 3D printers are there, and the whole house is just constructed with a foreman, maybe one or two laborers to unhook stuff and things like that. But you've got a pretty cool catchphrase for CDO Group on your timing. What was that? Dirt to dishes?
Dirt to dishes in 4 weeks. I mean, literally, I just spent all morning talking to people about how do we continue to do that, right? What do our superintendents do? And what we know about managing projects is that most of our business is plagued by cowboys. Here, most of my career, I'm a cowboy, right? I show up, I got a 6-shooter on. Come on, you put me out in the field. There's nothing I can't solve. I love the business. I can talk a sub into doing anything I need. But you realize that's an archaic way of doing construction. It's archaic. Right. Literally, it's what cavemen do. Beat on your chest, show off your ego.
But it's fun. It's fun doing those negotiations and moving things around, right?
But it's also a waste of the world. If you look at the way we manage projects today, the bidding of projects is the number one waste of time. The number one waste of time. If you look at projects the way we do them, think about this. Here, just this year, you got a pencil. Where's that pencil? You can find it? All right, here. So this is real quick. Let's just do some numbers real quick. So let's say that we're building a $400,000 coffee shop, right? Let's start with that, right? That's an ABC coffee shop. Right. And it's going to be an ABC country, wherever it's going to be. And we're going to pick 5 contractors to go bid for us, right? Let's just imagine 5 contractors, right? It'd be kind of standard, right? Five. We're going to get 3 good bids out of it. None of those will find someone to bid it, right? We're going to take 5 contractors. Now, out of that time, it takes my company it costs me about $5,000 to $10,000 a project. For a $400,000 project, maybe it's $5,000, right? It goes to my estimating team. They break it down. They send it out to subcontractors. Somewhere we need about 20, 25 subs to build that, between the HVAC, electrical, plumbing, carpentry, millwork, lighting, all the different subcontractors, flooring vendors, fences, all the things we put. Let's say it's 25 different vendors. Let's say that it costs each one of those companies $2,000 to stop their day and go put an estimate together and bring it into me, right? So that's 25 guys times 2,000. That's $50,000, right? So you got 5 guys at $5,000. There's $25,000. You got another 25 guys. You got another 25 guys, right? Per contractor times 50,000. That costs you $50,000, right? Because there's 25 of them, and there's $2,000 a piece. Now do that times 5 contractors, right? Let's imagine that they're not all the same sub, right? They've gone to different subs, their subs. Now you've got $50,000 times 5, right? Right there, you got $250,000, and you haven't even started. Plus the GCs, another 25,000. You got 275,000, right? And you haven't even started. Now you got to throw in their suppliers. Now say it costs them $500 a piece. Each one of those suppliers has to do it. So by the time you go through this whole process, and owners think that they're going to go through this whole thing, it is a nightmare. So, our job is to continue to look at where the breakthroughs in our industry are, and that's one of them, right? As people start to look at the inefficiencies, construction people work their freaking asses off. They're like restaurant people. There's not an easy, you do not go into construction because you're looking to be a loafer. I mean, there might be hold on, I'm going to talk about it. There's maybe some spots in the country where people are trying to find retirement in construction, but it's not really the business. The business is really hard work. Yeah, great people working really, really hard. And, to take the margins it costs to go bid a project and waste that before you even started, right? You're taking, the cream off the top of that for your retirement, for any room to work, breathe as a human being, as a company. Right. And, it's a bad way of doing it. So as technology takes over and makes this whole process a lot smarter, it makes it easier for, just think about what has to happen even when they go to bid it, right? If you look at the bidders that bid the thing, someone had to lie to get the job.
Probably.
Right. I mean, right here, you bid it for $10. I come in and say, well, I can do it for $9, right? And someone's going to come in and say they can do it for $8. Now, maybe the guy with $8. The
consumer doesn't even read the proposal or understand what the hell he's looking at anyway.
No, he ends up taking a number rather than the right number, right? And it plagues our business all day long. And then they wonder why they're so mad when their project starts, right? They don't know. First of all, they're not educated.
Or they either take the number or the relationship, right? Whoever sold the relationship better, or whoever was the cheapest price. And I think that depends on the kind of person that you're selling to. But it's probably not the right bid.
Rarely is it the right number, and that plagues the rest of it, right? So now you entered in with people who bid the heck out of it, right? Who are entering the project with low margins. They've already spent, 1 out of every 10 bids they win, right? Or say 1 out of every 5 they win, right? If they're really good, but truth is probably more like 1 out of every 10 they bid, they win, right? So their margins are already low before they've started. Now they had to fight to get the number. Now they've got to try to make a profit, and they promise you 10 people a day on the job site. And they're like, yeah, I can't quite do that. Or the 10 people they send you are cheap people, right, and they're not really qualified. So now you've got, you can't deliver on your schedule, and that impacts all the rest of the folks that are on that job site, right? When I can't, when one sub messes up, it messes it up for all the subs. And then what happens? It erodes more of the margin. Right. So all these people, all these subcontractors who hide the bandana and don't want to tell the owners what they're making, like somehow or another, not making a profit is what you do on a job site. You have to make a profit. Yes. Right. If you can't be in this business without making a profit. And you were talking about McDonald's earlier, and they're one of the favorite companies I've ever worked for. They are seriously, they are amazing people to work for. They get the process. They're equal opportunity people. They really do inspire you to be a better better company. They're the kind of company that we were just down at their World Convention down in Orlando last week, and man, I got to tell you, that's the kind of company that's fun to work with, because they literally give you a shot at making a buck, and they'll communicate with you in a way that lets you know what's coming up.
Right.
Share it with everybody, kind of everybody gets an opportunity in there. And you can see a future where that's a great inspiration for other companies to build relationships with their contractors and their subcontractors, so that there might be a shot for quality of life.
Right.
And sustainability.
With McDonald's, unlike other big companies, they pay pretty well too, right? They pay on time. They don't push you 30, 60, 90 days out, right?
They are kings of paying on time,
yes.
Right?
Which is odd for a company of their size.
Yeah, well, they've learned that, hey, look, first of all, what does that cost a company in performance anxiety from the people that work for you? Right. We work for a couple of different pharmacy brands that, I wouldn't mention their name, but I could tell you, I don't know how much I want to work for them, right? When it takes you 90 days to get paid, you're doing small little projects that might be 5-6 weeks long, and you put your first pay application in, and you can't put a second pay application in until the first one's paid, and you can't get, that whole process,
right.
And then by the time you get it in, and you got little contractors, little subs that are working for you around the country.
You got to pay them on time.
So we end up paying them on time. So now I'm funding their projects.
Right.
Right.
It's a challenge. But
right.
Can you tell us a little bit about how a person, if I've got a construction company or I wanted to work with a company like McDonald's, how does a small company even get on a company like McDonald's radar?
The key to companies like that are, you got to get yourself together, right? You're not walking into a brand like McDonald's and, you've got to bring you got to put yourself together to get there, right? So you cut your teeth on some other projects, right? You get yourself cut up, you get yourself a team, a staff. When we started with McDonald's, we were a smaller company, but we had really great principles, right? We paid our subs on time. We had great practices. Our project managers turned projects over on time, right? Getting to really have great practice before we ever got to meet them. And then we started with, we started with 2 projects. And then by the time we were done with 2 projects, they said, hey, here's a couple more. And they said, here's a couple more. And then we really kept performing and outperforming on those. And it took a while. Now, the hard part with companies like McDonald's are they have huge insurance requirements. Their insurance is not. So a lot of companies we work with, we help a lot. So we're a women-owned company. My wife owns a company, and we work with a lot of minority companies, a lot of startup companies, and we say to them, hey, look, we'll coach you along on this. We love, somebody did that for us, right? So we work with companies, they call us up and say, hey, we're not quite qualified to get into McDonald's, but we want to learn. How can we do that? Right. And we work together with them and we'll pick a project. We'll talk to McDonald's, say, hey, look, we're going to start coaching this company along. And they love doing that. So it helps them kind of get their feet underneath them, make sure they don't get hurt, right? We can help them carry some of the load of some of the heavier stuff. And over a period of time, they get to learn, and all of a sudden they get to sit on their own. And then it's up to them to really make it or break it, depending on their performance, right? Yeah. To really deliver on an on-time project and really make the opportunity worth it. And that's what people.
It's refreshing to hear that perspective from a company like McDonald's, because I think the average person that would look at McDonald's corporate structure would think that they're this, die hard, all about the bottom line, not about helping people grow. But in the business world, they've always been about process and giving people a leg up that are willing to put in the effort to grow, right? They've been really good at that. They pay their managers really, really well. They run a clean shop. And as far as process goes, I think they nailed it better than anybody on the planet as far as mass producing hyper-specific products that look the same all over the world, right? So you got to take your hat off to a company like McDonald's. But so if the goal is to save the $250,000 that it costs to, right now to get everything together, does the end user, the guy that's buying that, coffee shop, ABC coffee shop, he's going to open this and he's buying a franchise or whatever, how does he recognize the savings from that 250, or does that profit really go back to the construction company where it belongs?
You get a combination of both, right? You end up with a combination of both, right? So when you look at that $250,000, which really doesn't stop there, you can continue on with the cost of our
That's
operating.
just the construction bid side. You also got the cost of the company doing all the labor of reading all the bids and doing all that.
Right. All the other stuff goes. Let's just say that $400,000 project and add on another $250,000, which we know we just talked about, right? So that $400,000 project cost the world $650,000 before it ever opened. Now, the owner may have paid $400,000, right? But the world, everybody around it costs. So from an environmental point of view, it's a nightmare. So when we look at it, then you add on the construction, right? In most construction projects, we've done analysis over every one of our projects and how much material gets brought on, how much material stays on the building, how much gets thrown away, right? New projects, how many dumpsters we throw away on new projects that we do. 9% of all material brought to a job site ends up in a landfill. 9%. Think about that. 9% of everything we bring to a project. So now we start really working on how do we start looking at the world differently, right? What are the things that we want? When we take kitchen equipment, do we need you to take all the kitchen equipment and rewrap it twice before it gets to the job site? What are the things that we can do to save plastic? What are the things that we can do to find environmentally sound companies that can deliver more projects with less impact to the environment? So those are all things that we learn from companies like McDonald's. They're not stuff you have to go out there and reinvent the world, but they're literally things that we just have to think a little bit, right? As we look at, the owners, the future of our business really will be about creating relationships with those general contractors so they become your partners. And by the way, today, the whole bid process that people go through, if you add on the bid process, and you add on the permitting process, and then you add on the time delay that's taken for getting materials right now, if you don't partner with general contractors right now, you're automatically wasting months of your ability to open. Yes. Right? What is that? What's that impact to you as a competitive, in a competitive marketplace? Right? You have an opportunity to open it. How many people are paying rent on a space that's not open for 6 more months? Think about that. What's the cost associated with not opening on time? So as we really look at it, the thing I really try to encourage an owner or a franchisee or somebody that's going to go to market and build something new is find a great relationship. Look them up. Check out someone's background. Try to figure out their references and get a partner that you can count on that can guide you down the path. And look, great partners look out for the owners. I promise you that the relationships we have with the clients we work for, I work just as hard at protecting them, right? We want to make a fair profit. Look, no, we need to make a profit, or we can't be in business without a fair profit, right? If we can't pay our people and they can't take vacations, and what's fair? But you know what? Try not to be gluttonous. Right now, I don't believe that anybody really is gluttonous. I think there are people out there who make a buck or two, and people automatically think you're making some sort of fortune. But I can prove to you by that whole process we just went through, all that money that people think you're making, you're not. Right, no. You're all that's getting wasted in some capacity or another. And as we look at it, the future, really will be about having these great relationships with people. So, I was just in Dubai a couple of weeks ago, and the week before I was at McDonald's, I was in Dubai, and I was looking at some investments for building some buildings, and they're building so fast. I mean, the buildings they're building so fast. And I said to the guy, well, as we look at this investment. He goes, I guarantee you 12%. I'm like, how do you guarantee me 12% before I even get started? He goes, look, what happens is before we even break ground on the footings, an employment company will come to us and rent the entire building out for the next 20 years. Guarantee me X dollars right on my investment before we even start the project.
Wow.
Now that's forward thinking, right? The kind of relationships that people say, hey, look, I'm going to rent that building. And I'm going to use that for bringing people in as employees, or bring them in, because part of they bring skilled laborers in from all around the world. Right. You put them up in housing, they give them housing and all that kind of stuff, and they go find a building. So before they even bring the people in, they're already looking for buildings to put them in. And that's the kind of thinking that sometimes we lose around here. How can we do that here with the relationships that we build? When brands can go to a contractor, a group of contractors, and say, hey, look, here's your next 30 months worth of work. And then those contractors can go to their subcontractors and say, hey, here's your next 30 months worth of work.
Right.
Think about how that affects their ability to price for you better. How many of those subcontractors want to go bite the hand that fed them 30 months worth of work?
Right. and then you just go on a time and material bids, right? And you're not going to do the whole, like, how much going that path do you remove? Is scope creep better by doing time and material, or is it better by doing fixed bid?
You don't even have to do time and material. People can give you fixed bids because they'll take their time because they know they've got a job. The problem is now that when I go to bid, you're asking a bidder to bid on a job, to stop their day, go spend $2,000 worth of time to put your bid together. Most of the time they're putting bids together after work. They, think of our great subcontractors, the great subs we have out there. Most of them are working subs, right? They don't have a whole staff of estimating team. They're not a company like ours that has a team of people that just do estimating all day long. They're, the owner is, putting estimates together at night and he's working all day. So, to stop and give you a great bid. But if I can say to them, hey, look, I'm going to use you for the next 30 months on these projects, I need you to put together a very thorough bid. And by the way, I need it broken down exactly I need it to be thorough.
Right.
Now I can stop and take it and put together a reasonable number. And that's the kind of relationship they're looking for. They look at the end, they just want to know they're going to make a buck, right? They just want to know they're going to make a profit, right? Where they can go home and the kid can go to college and just like everybody else, right? That's all they're looking to do. And if they can stop wasting their time bidding all projects they're going to lose, the 9 projects they lost, they can give you a much better price because they don't want to lose that opportunity to have 30 months worth of work.
Right. On that granular, that thorough bid, I don't do a lot of construction. I've GC'd a couple jobs and I've, had a lot of buildings built, not a lot, a handful. I like kind of bids when they say, hey, it's going to be, for a finished drywall, it's going to be $11 per linear foot. Plain and simple. I can go back and check my math and do, even after it's done, I can go, oh, this is what we agreed on per linear foot. I can go back in and really look at that. So I like that granular price per whatever it is, per foot of cable, per foot of finished drywall, per foot of finished floor, right? Is that the kind of detail that you're going for, or even deeper dive than that?
The future will literally be, you'll know how much it costs for nails. Now, look.
And how many nails it needs to do your job, and how many nails are going to be bent on average?
You'll know what's coming down the pipeline for the business. And this is where people, and I just encourage contractors, it's my continuous conversation with everybody I have in the business, is it's time now to start adopting technology. If every one of your people doesn't carry an iPad with them, if everyone doesn't have a cell phone and they're not digitally communicating and they're tracking their hours and their time and doing everything digitally, then it happens, this separation between the people that are doing that and the people that are fighting that, right? It's like the difference between the Uber drivers and the taxi drivers. How many of those people that were taxi drivers that had those shields and like, I'm not giving up, Chicago, they were like, oh, come on, here in Chicago, like I spent $300,000 on this shield. I'm not giving this up. And, instead of just realizing they've got sunk costs, it's too late. The business is done. They're holding on to something that's sunk. Move forward, adopt the new stuff, move forward and start to really look at the technology and how from a subcontractor all the way to a general contractor, adopt technology in every aspect that you can. And by the way, you're not going to get this. The kids that are coming out of college today, they're not looking to sit there and bang hammers all day long. No. Now, if you can show them how to play with robots all day, you'll have a dozen of them lining up, right? If you can show them how to put together some really smart stuff and look at the nuances of construction, then you'll get them, right? They'll get excited about it. And that's where we're seeing the difference, right? Where we're seeing companies who really are adopting the technology. We just saw a company do 36,000 yards of concrete, 36,000 yards of concrete in record time, right? Some record pours, right? Record pours. And they're, think about what it took to manage that whole process, right? The number of trucks that they took in there, the timing, the pumps, the stuff that takes. Look, you want to get a young person excited. Because look, young people aren't just thinking about money. Our generation did. Right. Like we were money driven. Like our fathers really taught us that. Our mothers, our parents taught us that behavior. These kids that are coming out are looking to really make a difference, right? They're really looking to do something different. I mean, I watch them every day. It's not about money for them. Now
Yeah.
they will. That'll kick in when they start getting some bills, and all of a sudden get them a couple Lexus payments, and all of a sudden they'll realize, all right, I need some more money. But right now they're more excited about making a difference and being impactful and finding something that's of value, and not just, they're really trying to be impactful for the world, which kudos to them. I look at my kids and I'm like, God bless you. They're up to some good stuff. And it didn't make sense to me at first, but as I watch them and see them, they inspire me, right? They inspire the young people that come to our companies today are doing some neat stuff. They're changing the way that we do things. And by the way,
and they're forcing the people that don't want to adopt technology, they're forcing that hand. At least it feels that way to me.
Hold on. And that's me, right? I mean, seriously, I got a new update on my phone this morning from Apple.
Right.
I was like, damn it. Right. I was like, how many times have we changed since we've done this? I mean, since you started this business, think about when you were a kid. Did you have a household without a computer?
I did not. I've always had a computer. I'm an anomaly in the computer world. I've had a computer since I was like 5 years old.
We didn't have, the computers weren't even available until I was like 14, right? All of a sudden, then we had one of these ones like the green little icon, little green screen. You couldn't put a picture on it. We got pictures. I'm like, they were so tough, and it completely keeps changing as we go along. I've changed a lot, right? So every once in a while, I get a little tired by change, and I got to take another breath, right? As a leader, to keep going forward, to keep changing,
right?
All right, dust my ass off. Let's go. We're gonna go change again, right? Keep going through that process. It takes a little bit of fortitude to do that and not rest on your laurels. Because look, I constantly tell people, if you're resting, you're dying.
Yeah,
you might as well be in purgatory, just waiting to die.
Yeah,
because there's nowhere in business where you can rest. If there's ever a day when you have nothing to do, your business is dying. And if you think that that's wrong, let's just see how long you'll be in business, because it's just somebody's chasing your ass every day.
Somebody wants your business. Doesn't matter what it is. Somebody else wants it, right? They want what you have, and they're willing to take it if you keep your eye off the ball at all. So you're the co-founder for CDO Group. Is that correct?
Yep.
And that was 25 years ago. When you started the company, was your wife the primary shareholder, or was it you?
Nope. I was the sole owner of it. And, I went through another marriage. I actually lost a wife due to being in business, right? To being all in.
Lost her to
right?
divorce? And not lost her to, okay.
I got lost in divorce because I was so myopically focused on the business, and that's all I could do, right? I didn't have any other focus. It was really so myopic that I lived, breathed, ate it. And that was my whole time was spent in there. Today, I can learn to have a little bit of both, but I still do believe that if you want to have a chance in business, you better get pretty focused on what you're doing.
Absolutely. And your wife or your partner, whoever that might be, it's wildly important that person in your life is extremely supportive of what you're doing. It sounds like you've got a partner that is really supportive. She's the president now. Can you tell us a little bit about the transition from your mental transition from leaving, ownership to now she's the primary owner running the business. Now you're minority owned business and you're now taking that back seat. I know from experience that is a wildly challenging thing to do, to hand your baby over to somebody to run it while it's easier for me to leave it alone. Like, hey, here it is. I'm going to go do something else. But you're actually now sitting on the sidelines watching it with your wife. I know how hard that is because I run a business with my wife, and she's the 51% owner. I'm the 49% owner. It can get challenging from time to time. Can you tell us a little bit about how that relationship goes and that transition from you being the president to her being the president?
My first year of that was look, we lost business. I'm not gonna lie. That transition. And I almost jumped in 1,000 times, literally 1,000 times. And I had hired a really expensive business coach to help me through that process, right? Not everybody gets that opportunity to have this person came by a couple times a week and sat with me like, all right, you doing all right? It was literally like a therapist, right? Yeah. It literally takes that kind of training. And, and she would say to me, all right, what's going on? And I would say, this is what I'm feeling. This is what's going on. And really what I found out was I have got lots of skills to offer. Now, if I just let them step into it, and that's really what happened. And she did things. So, I'm more like a big coach. Go get them. Bullshit. You can do this. I was really pretty tough. I'm pretty tough on humans to really move them forward. Right. There's a very aggressive behavior that I have that move. And I don't mean like bad, but I mean, just really, that would, to me, it's how I was inspired. Right. I had people who did that to me. And my want was really to make better humans. And it was just different the way I did it than the way she did it. She builds family, our community. She really, if you look around here, we have a much better community life, our family life, the way that people work together, live together. It feels like a big, giant family at the company today than it ever did before. And there's, I used to make people wear suits and ties to work every day. There are blue jeans, there's dogs and kids running through the office. And it's a lot different feeling.
Right.
And I didn't think you could do that. I had a whole song and dance about, people would beg me on Fridays. Can we wear blue jeans on Fridays? I'm like, no, look, we're a professional organization. We don't do that here. And, today I don't even have, here, I dress up a little because I kind of like it because I'm on a show. I'll dress up, but you go around our office, people are in blue jeans all day. It's much more casual. The tie is not important. What's important is really you and what they do and the commitment to the work that the people do. And people here really are breaking through, and I watch individual, and that's really where I spend my time. If I have really one thing that I do every day is help grow the people that are here, right? If I can help them see something they couldn't see, I really do believe that great leadership is the ability to solve problems or help people see things that they can't see, right? An opportunity they get stuck on, places where we're repetitive, the continuation of the same stuff over and over and over again, and going, all right, we might not need to do that again. And how could that be? And how can I support you making a change there? And that's really what we work on is helping our leadership team. As I said, I do that 1 hour a week with them. And, how do every week I try to find a different focus for each one of them. And that's kind of fun for me. That's kind of been my new realm.
So it sounds to me like you've transitioned from boss to leader, which is fantastic. Was the leadership role, like, I know that when I was younger, I had an idea of what a boss was, right? You come in, you make sure everything's ready, you make sure everything's running good, but it wasn't very personable, right? And today, I think with this great resignation and post-COVID everything, that methodology of running a business is just not going to work at all. I don't think, at least for the next 5 or 10 years that I can see in the future of what I'm dealing with, labor shortages and getting people hired today. How did you handle that transition? Or was there an aha moment of, oh shit, I'm a decent boss, but I really need to become a leader? And what was that transition like for you?
The leadership skills are something that leaders have to do more work than anybody in the company. And I mean that. Like if a leader isn't reading, I read a book a week, every week. I mean, this week I'm reading the Quran, which that's a whole other one to read, right?
Did you say the Quran?
Yeah, I'm reading the Quran this week. So, I mean, I'll read leadership books.
You're going to read the Quran in a week? Or parts of the Quran?
I'm gonna get pretty hard, but it's there's a lot to it. There's a lot to that one. That may, and some books may take me a couple of weeks or maybe in 3 weeks. I was reading Iron John the other day, which is a great, a few months back actually, and that book took me a while to read because just the way that the writer writes. John Blau is a great writer, but the way he writes he's a poet. And I couldn't get the cadence in my head when I was reading it. Right? Normally I read something, I get a pretty good cadence. But then I stopped and I found him on YouTube and I listened to him. And then I realized he really talks like he's playing drums. Right. And once I got that down, the book went great. But it was great. It was all about the transition of a man. And as we go through the different aspects of who we are and the little boy, the warrior, the monster, the cage. I mean, the theory behind it is fun. So to me, as I develop my skills, I've got to do more work than anybody else in the team. And I encourage that to other leaders out there. Look, you've got to do more work. And that means, we have to look at all
work, right? It's not putting pen to paper or anything like that. It's the self-reflection mostly is what I've found.
character defects. What are my character defects? And that's in my home, right? As I look at, all right, how do I operate myself? Right? Do I walk around cussing and cursing and eating bad food? And, what are the behaviors I have that aren't suitable to being the leader I want to be? Right? What's the example? How do I be? And I still, character defects are like this. They're like the lawn, right? I go over here. I do the hedges. I clean them up. I trim the, and all of a sudden I look over here. Oh my God, there's weeds over here. I go over and fix the weeds. And, I fix one thing and then so it's something you're constantly working on as a leader, right? Working on myself. Yes. What are the things about myself that I have to do to make myself a better human being? Now, my wife seems to think that she's got it down pretty pat, and, she's different than I am. But for me as a leader, I do a lot of work on personal development. And I think that's been the key to being able to see, I look back and see the things I could see when I was younger, right? And starting this business in the basement. All I wanted to do was if we could make $10,000 a month, that was a big deal.
Right.
Today, huge. Right. To break the $100 million mark as a construction company, that's the stuff that I work on. Right. And it's not the same things I could see back then. Right. Back then I used to go out drinking with all the employees. Every time I hired someone, I take them out drinking. That's not behavior that works in a company that where we are today.
I used to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Always take them out to drinks. Like an hour at the bar solved every problem on the planet in the 90s and 2000s. Right?
You start realizing that nobody that goes, any customer I ever took to a bar, they gave me a couple of projects, but you never got the big deals. You don't, the guy you go out and get drunk with doesn't get the big deals, right? They might, here, thanks for buying me dinner. Here's a couple of little projects or some stuff to do. The big programs go to the people that didn't go to the bar, the people that focused on.
That knocked the proposal out of the park, right?
That's right.
They took that bar time and worked on the spreadsheet and got the vendor to lower the price a little bit to really push that to the next level, right? That's how they get it.
Yeah, no, that's right.
Anthony, we jumped right into this and we didn't even introduce you to the audience at all. Can you give us, your name, where you're from, and a little bit about, how you got started in life?
Sure. My name is Anthony Amunategui, and that is a Spanish last name. So Amunategui. That Tegui is unique to a place in Spain, the Basque region. So it's kind of a fun background. My family's all Sicilian, so it's kind of fun growing up in a Sicilian household, and all the stuff that comes with being Italian and being fun. So, very culturally diverse. My parents really believed in me traveling. I grew up as a kid going to Italy for the summers and spending time with my family. Really, really loved that family feeling. I grew up with my grandfather and working on the farm, and my grandmother and cooking and all that great stuff in a great Italian household, and lots of love, right? There was lots and lots of love in my family. And, I got into construction by accident. I literally was working my way through college, and I had a little painting company. I wanted to be Gordon Gekko. I really thought that I was going to be an accountant, and I had worked as a broker. And I thought I'd watched Wall Street. I wanted to be a broker. My friends were making, in the 80s, my friends were making $10,000 a month. I thought, oh my God, this is amazing. This is what I want to do. And the economy crashed. I got my broker's license. The economy the market crashed in '87, and I became I went back to school, and I was working my way through school painting houses down in Florida. Right. I grew up in Florida, and they have cement roofs, and you could go to someone, you could see the roof would be all green. You could go, hey, I'll pressure clean your roof for you for $100. And,
right.
The pressure cost me $50 a day. I made $50. I could do a couple of them in a day, and it was great. Right. So if I got the neighbor, then I made some real profit. Right. So, and then we'd blow the paint off the roof, and all of a sudden we go, hey, we'll paint your roof for, you buy the paint and pay us $500. And we thought, oh my God, we'll never make more money than this. We made $500 in a day. And, then we got the commercial painting. I got a guy, a contractor, who got me to do a Banana Republic, and he got me, nailed me. We didn't make any money, but we learned, right? It was a Banana Republic and had, I don't know, like 30 different colors of white. And the amount of money we did it for was nothing, but he gave me a discovery zone, a playground for kids. And that led us to doing some great, I figured out how to how to paint them faster, right? Back then, the air ducts were one color and the electrical wires were the tubes. Everything was exposed. And so we painted everything a different color. And I figured out if I painted it all, if I put tarps on the ground out in the parking lot and I painted it all out there, I could just touch it up when it was up in the air. And air magic, that was a lot of protection, right? It's Florida. It's 97,000 degrees down there. And when you're up in the ceiling, it's even hotter, right? So I figured I didn't spend time up there. I figured out of necessity, I'll do it this way. And then when I'm up there, I just have to touch it up a little bit. And some project manager saw me. He goes, man, that's genius. You're painting these things in half the time anybody else has ever done them in. And I'm like, oh, thanks. This is cool. And I thought that was pretty smart. And he goes, hey, you want to come to Chicago? And we're doing this thing where we're doing some cost cutting things. And I'm like, yeah, great. I'll come up there and do that. And all of a sudden I had a job working for Discovery Zone and they moved me to Chicago. And the rest is history. I got into construction from there and I was on their, store development team. And I went from there to Boston Market, from Boston Market to Einstein Bagels. From Einstein Bagels, I got to go to Alban Pan and Panera Bread. And it was a great transition. And then from there, some guys I worked with at Boston Market, we started CDO Group. And then a year later, I bought the company from them. And you know what? I look back now and think that was just, you couldn't have connected the dots then, right? But when you look back, it all makes sense today. Right. And that's fun.
Yeah. I think a huge lesson there, and I hear this all the time, especially from the people that I work with in their, mid 20s to mid 30s, is, well, I don't think that job's going to be worth my effort. Right. And you took a job that wasn't worth your effort. You probably took a loss on it. And I think we talk about, fail fast and all those things, but it doesn't really resonate with a lot of the younger folks of the importance of, losing on a job, especially early jobs, right? You can lose on those early jobs. You have plenty of time to recover from them. But if you don't take that job, you're never going to know what you don't know. Right. So can you talk to the audience a little bit about, how much did you learn on that Banana Republic job that really still holds true today that you carried through that? Because those first big losses for me, I go back and really think about those quite often in my life, and they've created a lot of process for me for where I'm at today.
Absolutely. The best part about those were I broke through the threshold of commercial work. Right. I mean, I'm painting houses. I'm wearing my shorts to work every day. Right. And we're like, wow, these are great. But, doing the residential houses, the homeowners are kind of a pain in the ass. I'm like, we got to get into commercial work, but how do we do that? And, there's this contractor we knew, and I said, can we bid on this project? And he gives it to us. We were like, we get it. I'm like, but he did it a little fast. Now I look back, I'm like, now I know why. Cause we way
underbid it.
We underbid it, right? But by a third of the price. But what's fun about that was we learned how to do it. I did all the work myself. So my time was cheap, right? And I didn't have many expenses. My rent at the time was $400 a month, and I split that with another guy. So we had no bills. So yeah, I didn't make lots of money doing it, but I learned how to just go to work on a job site every day. I learned how to write a commercial contract. I learned how to go get commercial insurance, right? I learned how to do the little things that I would not have learned unless I got that shot. And I wasn't going to get the shot unless I had to buy it. And essentially that's what I did. I bought the job. I got the job, and now I'm in. I got that. And then all of a sudden I get seen, right? All of a sudden a project manager sees me, and I could not have predicted that. But all I know is that I showed up every day. I was the happiest guy you ever met, because there's nothing about sitting there crying over spilled milk. Just be happy about what you do, and hopefully in the next one you'll make a buck, right? And you'll make a little bit more.
Absolutely. It's so important to make sure that you get the job, right? Don't leave money on the table. If you weren't going to do anything anyway, you might as well take the job and learn from that experience. Now, I know that, and I've done this before, and I've done a great job, and I have drastically done a really bad job at this too. I know that I'm losing at the job, right? You took the job, you're 2 months into it, and you're like, oh shit, man, we way underbid this. How does the team know about it? Or how do you make sure that you're keeping the team motivated? Because you still have to knock it out of the park. You can't do a shitty job because you screwed up your bid. I see it happen a lot. It's really frustrating when it happens. And I know I've even told vendors, I'm like, you're underbidding this, right? You need to bid it higher, or you're not going to do a really good job for me. It's taken me a long time to get there to know that and be able to give that advice. But When you know you're losing, how do you still come into the office every day or go to the job and keep high spirits and keep that highest level, that level of excellence in the job that you do? Because at the end of the day, if you cut corners here, you're jeopardizing your next job.
At the time I was doing it, you just kind of knew where you were at and you had to get it done, right? There was it made you a little bit leaner, made you a little bit smarter. You stopped BSing a little bit more. You just got real focused on what you're doing. You're going, all right, look, we've got to get this done because I can't make payroll on this next week if you guys have to come back here. And we've got to walk out with this thing being perfect. And that guy's got to love it because he needs to go sign off on because I can't make payroll on Friday unless I get that check on Thursday. And right. He's not going to get that check unless we're done on Wednesday. And he's got to call this. And, while I'm working in the background, I'm like, all right, so what does it take to get a check? Oh, you need a sign off from the superintendent. He's got to get that. What do I do? When he signs that off, where does it go to next? So I'm plotting all that out while we're brushing away and rolling and brushing and I'm talking. So, keeping focused on two things at one time. And, that's ultimately what you're doing running your business every day. Right. Anyways, today it's the same thing. It's just a bigger scale, right? As we look at the leaders that run.
That's it. Right.
It's just up another level. It's exactly right. It's the same exact conversation every day when we're doing them.
Fantastic. Anthony, I've had a blast talking with you. If somebody wanted to work with you, be on your podcast, how would they get in contact with you?
Easy. Number one, you can call me, 312-560-1086. It's great. Don't write that on the bathroom wall if you don't mind. Call me there. Call me or text or email me at Anthony, Anthony, at CDOgroup.com. It's great. Catch up with me. I'd love to talk to you and love to have you on the podcast. I'm always looking for great people to tell stories and stuff that they're doing in the construction business. If they're in anywhere in the construction world, but I've also had some other fun guests on there. I had a guest on the other day, the world's fastest reader, right? Wow. I've had some, yeah. So sometimes we'll go off construction a little bit. If it's somebody that I really love talking about or talking to, we'll go off topic a little bit, but just for the fun of it. So, look, any of your guests that are listening today, please look us up. And we'd be happy to talk to you.
Fantastic. And we'll shoot those contact info right there in the bottom so that you can get a hold of Anthony. If you wanted to work with him, if you had a construction job or you wanted to be on his podcast or even look him up on the podcast and listen to his podcast, I'm sure it's fantastic. Anything you'd like to leave for the audience?
Sure. The podcast, my podcast is called The Future. We got to remember, put the Future of Development podcast. So look that up. It's on all the network and YouTube. So The Future of Development podcast. Look it up. You guys will love it. We try to have really fun conversations like you do here. And
right now in construction, there's a lot of changes happening right now in this moment with, the biggest one is the 3D scanning, the BIM files, the 3D automation and things like that inside the building. It's really, really fun to dive into that. I'm not a construction guy, but I do enjoy a lot of that stuff.
We had a guy on there the other day that prints houses in 40 hours. Here for $4,800, they can make a house for $4,800, 1,600 square foot house.
1,600 square foot house.
1,600 square foot house for $4,800. Wow,
that is very impressive.
Think about where the world's going. It's material sciences, the new stuff that's coming down, and it works in the hottest of deserts and the coldest cold. The new wall structures they're creating are different. The way that they absorb heat and cold, stuff that's coming down the pipeline of construction will blow you away. It's awesome. It's a great time to be in the business. It's never more fun to be in construction.
Yeah, homelessness could be solved in our lifetime.
It has to be, right? By the way, we're about to double in population. Look, our literally across the world with the way lifespans are happening, the group of people that are coming up, from we did a whole thing with a demographer, a guy who studies demographics and his populations and what is coming at us from that point of view and people's lifespans. My kids are expected to live into the hundreds, right? I mean, imagine that. When I was born, guys were expected to live to 63 and women to 68. Right. Today, My kids are expected, their kids are expected to live in the hundreds. Just that alone will double the population on this planet. We need to find more sustainable living and better practices for what we're doing. And people are racing to do that right now. There's amazing people out there that are solving that problem. And it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be really creative. And the products that are coming out of it are just phenomenal. Yes. They're beautiful looking buildings, and they're creative. So it's a fun time to be in construction.
Our future as a whole is riddled with opportunity right now. And if you are looking for an opportunity in this world, there's plenty of them for you to go out and grab. I think my biggest problem is there's so many opportunities. I tend to get in a little bit of gridlock here and there, but we keep moving forward. Anthony, thank you so much for your time today. I had a blast. Same here. Thanks for having me on. I'm grateful. Awesome. Thank you. That's it for today's show, folks. If you'd like to join my text line community, the number is 314-370-2871. All you have to do to join that text line is send me any question about business or technology. I'll do all the research, and I'll give you an absolutely free, totally unbiased answer. Get to work.